Thank you very much, gentlemen. And there is quite a bit to talk about. We're all pretty much huddled around each other for this entire match, back and forth, yes or no, you guys disagreeing and agreeing. So let's start it right away. And the only spot to start is picks and bans. So, Crepo, hit us with that knowledge.
It was really interesting pick and ban phase. Like, immediately we could see Ari was left open and not first pick. That indicates, like, two things. They don't care about the Ari, or, like, either it's lack of respect or it's preparation. And this time it was preparation. We could really see Ari open means Fizz. So on the last rotation they would pick Fizz. Then it comes to the point, what are you going to first pick? Elise. But to my knowledge, I'm not 100% sure here. I asked Money, he wasn't 100% either. Do they play a lot of Elise? OMG, we don't know. But it really felt like Lemondgos could have actually first picked Kennen there. Zach was... I didn't see it. Then in the middle of the game I started seeing, but then due to item choices it wasn't as effective. We'll get to that later. So they went out to Elise, picked up the Fizz as a counter to Ari, and actually we went really well to the point where he lost his blue buff to the jungler. But yeah, I think that the game went into its final fold, or when it did initially, went really well for Lemondgos when they forced the lane swap and OMG had to react.
Right at the start of the game, even though you said they got a little bit lucky because OMG was so tunneled on getting that 2v2 lane.
Yeah, good point.
And Double F can talk about the lane matchup, like why they would have wanted that beforehand. But because they got to the lane so late, it put basically Zach at an early survivability against Kennen, which shouldn't really be the case either, and it allowed Corki to push to the lane early on for Lemondgos, which is why it seemed like they should have had control of that game, and it created a slow opening.
And that's just why I wanted to illustrate the Chinese bottom lanes. Like, this guy, San, he doesn't care about Corki. He doesn't have to play it. He can just play Tristana. It's a comfortable skill matchup for him, and he'll outscale Corki. As you saw this game, his item choice was really... interesting to say the least because he didn't have a Lasso Spirit, even with 5-item Tristana. But it doesn't matter because Tristana is just a monster late game, and he managed to, even with the bad start, make it to the mid late game as Trist.
It wasn't just a lane swap, though, for me. Taking a look at Loveland's early jungle path, I mean, we were talking about how the warding effectively gave them a free blue steal that would have been unknown to the Lemondgos, and instead he started red, blue, Wraiths, and then tried to gank that mid lane, and it wasn't the same kind of pathing efficiency like we saw against SK Telecom.
Then at the same time, it would have, if he would have changed his path, he would have probably ended up ganking top lane, which due to the lane swap was initially behind. You saw Dexter waiting there for a minute, so actually Loveland not playing the ideal path went in OMG's favor because Dexter was camping that top lane rush for over like a minute.
He was hoping for a counter gank.
He was hoping for a counter gank, and it didn't came, and actually that put OMG slightly ahead. Although you have to at the same time admit that Lemondgos were really lucky because they went for a super safe start because their level 1 was inferior. And
right, but Dexter wouldn't have been able to be up there if he hadn't gotten his own blue and then went top either. So if they had taken blue to red,
completely agree.
So I think it just changed everything.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I feel like that game was so much a Lemondgos style of game and a Lemondgos game to win because the laning phase being slow is exactly what they wanted, but then Mithy kept getting hit by the roots from Zyra in lane. It turned that bottom lane around. There was the very unlucky blue buff that Nukeduck wasn't able to get on Fizz, and those two things combined swung so much momentum back for
that
OMG.
Influenced the Dragon. The first Dragon OMG got so much, because, I mean, you can always go into hypotheticals, but an Ari with blue buff pushing down a Fizz means Fizz will farm almost the same on their tower because Nukeduck is such a mechanically strong player, but he will always be the second one to farm.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest factors that changed that game was the top laners. Zach's poor item choice with Sork Shoes just let him get CC'd as the game went on, but Kennen also played really, I would say, shaky. He got caught a lot. Going was like always in front, getting caught, had to flash out. And at one point he hourglassed, and then he ultied after his hourglass was done, hitting nobody. So he had a really rocky start to the game, but you can fix that problem as the game goes on. You can play better, but you can never go back on a bad item choice. And I feel like if Zach went Mercs, yeah, you can sell it, but you lose a lot of money.
After 2 fights with those sword shoes, he should have sold it.
Yeah, he was doing nothing.
Especially because, we saw those sword shoes come in, and to put this in context, it's because of those tenacity nerfs on Zach's ultimate. So it looked like Zora wasn't comfortable on playing on the new Zach, perhaps, that he hadn't really gotten in there and tested it.
I think do you think he was tested it because he was up against something that caught your eye as well as the double early Abyssal Scepter build coming out from OMG? So he's kind of thinking he needs to be able to impact for his team as well?
Well, it did give them a lot of that magic resistance. We were all talking about this as well against, the Corki missiles, and we had the Elise as well. So a lot of AP damage coming out of the team. However, I think it was okay on the Kennen because the Kennen's going to get hit by all of that stuff. I still think that even though Fizz is very strong and you may want to itemize MR, I still really like the DFG first because Cool is a playmaker. He's the core of OMG, and I think he should have more confidence in himself, really, to be able to skirt the outside of that AoE.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I just wanted to point out, like, Lemondgos' team comp works only when Zach is really disruptive, and it's just
to land that ult.
yeah, he needs to get in there, right? Like, they have Fizz, they have Elise, they have these champions they need to get in with the disruption of Zach, and he was just stopped in his tracks every team fight.
If he lands a perfect light bounce, though, then Magic Pen boots are better. But then he needs to land spot on 3 people and then avoid getting stunned. Although we have to like look, if we saw, Lemondgos actually came back. Like, so they won early.
It was such a crazy
They got behind. Then Nukedog started like the Nukedog show, pretty much.
Yep.
Up until the point where he dived mid past the tower. And I think that was because he did not see Tristana building Spectre's Cowl. Because otherwise he would have probably blown up Tristana. His team would have dove in with him, not cared about fighting on a tower. But I think that Spectre's Cowl right there, combined with Nukedog's slight bit of arrogance, which actually gives him so many kills on the other hand, definitely turned that game around.
Well, there's also, after that, I feel like Going's just split-second aggression before the rest of the team could come in as well.
Yeah,
zoning him out with his ult, and Cool was there with the follow-up charm also. So I think it was a good reaction as well from OMG.
Yeah, I think really surprisingly, the item choices from OMG had a fairly large impact on the victory for the game, because I know we actually had a pretty lengthy discussion about the double Abyssal Scepter and which one
I still
was
don't
better.
like it.
Pretty lengthy.
Do you like it?
See, I like the double Abyssal Scepter from them.
I like double Abyssal. I just prefer DFG before Abyssal.
Well, here's why I like the double Abyssal Scepter here, and I think it's one of the reasons that Nukeduck tunneled so hard on Tristana in the end, because as soon as they rush the Abyssal on the mid lane Ahri, it's because he respects Nukeduck, right? Not many people give him, you can counter this in a second, but like, when he has...
That phase.
Yeah, when he has the ability to go in and assassinate really only one person cleanly, he tunneled on him over and over again in these team fights, and eventually tunneled on Tristana, which was honestly obviously a mistake going in. And I think that's the mistake that cost him the game.
I just feel even regardless, if they wouldn't have the Abyssal, he would still opt to go for Tristana. Because Fizz just makes AD carries disappear, and his team could deal with Ahri a little better compared to how he could deal with Tristana, I imagine.
Double with final thoughts there. Look, I got something to say.
I hate the double Abyssal Scepter because I like to min-max, and I think if Ahri wanted MR to respect Nukeduck, he should have won Athenes. The 20% CDR actually makes up for the lack of M-Pen that you get.
It's obviously not just to respect Nukeduck. It's because it works for everything in their game. Like, there is more magic damage in that Lemondgos composition than we see out of almost any team composition in this entire World Championships, because Corki, when you look at your damage dealt after the game, he's pretty much half, maybe more magic damage, especially when a Kennon's in team fights kind of zoning him back. Elise's all magic damage as well. Like, everything is about that Negatron cloak he gets to build into an item. That's the only reason I like it.
All right, guys.
Still a good game, though.
Oh, my.
Very good.
I always thought Lemondgos
This was a world-class
game,
game, in my opinion.
Very close.
Well, they're doing it in the right place on the right stage. And with that, let's check out the Group A standings hot off the rift. OMG on top at 3-0. SKT T1 at 1-1 with TSM right behind them at 1-1 as well. Lemondgos 1-2 with Gaming Gear looking to pick up their win. 0-2 right now. All right, and if guys, it's that time of the show where you guess who is going to win the next game, and the viewers as well. But they've been guessing better. And last time, Crepo...